Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I guess you're missing the closing remarks in the other part of the conference. So I appreciate your being here. This presentation is only going to be about 20 minutes or so, and certainly I can answer questions either as we go through this or at the end, or if you want to write in the chat box. I'll try to keep up with the chat box as we go through it. But this will be about a high level presentation. I'm going to start out talking about kind of Noaa's mission at a high level, just to kind of set the stage, and then move into a description of Noaa's SBIR program. So, which is run out of the Technology Partnerships Office, which is where I work. I'm Rich Fulton. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so there's the Noaa. You see our website there, and I'm going into this not sure how much people know about Noaa. I'm assuming not a whole lot, but I'm sure probably some of you do know quite a bit more about Noaa beyond just the basic stuff. There is our website, techpartnerships.noaa.gov/SBIR, if you want to check us out. The mission of Noaa is to understand and predict changes in climate, weather, oceans, and coasts, which is obviously relevant to our the BlueTech Expo today. And the second mission is to conserve and manage coastal and marine ecosystems and resources. Now, Noaa is a very much data-driven organization. We do a lot of data collection, and so obviously that data is an important part of our mission, and we do share that as a part of our mission. This kind of shows at a high level kind of the main mission areas for Noaa: weather, climate, oceans and coasts, fisheries, satellites, research, marine and aviation operations, charting, and sanctuaries. And I'll just quickly go through each of these just to give you a little sense for what we do in Noaa. Obviously, weather, everyone knows about the National Weather Service and their forecasts and warnings for tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, etc., etc. It's a big part of our mission. Climate is just basically long-term weather, if you want to call it that. There's Noaa provides a lot of data tools and information to help people understand and prepare for the climate variability and change that we are going through. Oceans and coasts, obviously a big thing. The National Ocean Service is in charge of that. Sanctuaries is also a National Ocean Service mission area, protecting the sanctuaries. Charting, another NOS activity. And then fisheries, the National Marine Fisheries Service, provides science-based conservation and management for sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, marine mammals, endangered species, and their habitats. And then research, obviously research is a big part of what we do. And in fact, our office, the Technology Partnerships Office, lies within this part of Noaa, the Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research. And so this is where a lot of the data collection and research and publishing takes place through this, although research happens in all of the offices across Noaa that we just talked about. And then environmental satellites, that's we spend a lot of money on putting weather satellites up there into space and collecting data. And the satellites look not only at Earth, but also at the sun too. And the marine and aviation operations, the Office of Marine and Aviation Operations runs all of the Noaa airplanes and the vessels that we have out there. So they're all out there collecting the data that I talked about. So now let's go into just a high-level overview of the SBIR program. These couple of slides are pulled from the Small Business Administration's presentation. The SBA is the federal agency that manages the SBIR program across all the agencies, and there are 11 different federal agencies that participate in the SBIR program, Noaa being one of them. It is a $4 billion program, cross-agency, competitive program. So basically, it's competitive in terms of the distribution of the money. You compete with other small businesses, but the point is to encourage small businesses, American small businesses, to engage with us in developing innovative products and services, that hopefully have potential for commercialization, while supporting the Noaa mission as well. So these are the overarching goals of the SBIR program. First, to stimulate technological innovation, and we provide funding through this program to do the type of research that small businesses might not otherwise have access to, because it is kind of new, innovative, and risky too. So the second goal there, to meet federal research and development needs. Third, to foster participation by socially and economically disadvantaged persons and businesses. And the fourth one there is important, to increase the private sector commercialization of innovations funded by federal money. If anybody has any questions, just let me know as we go through this, or type it in the chat box. Okay, so here is a high-level overview of all of the 11 agencies, federal agencies, that participate in the SBIR Sttr program. Sttr stands for Small Business Technology Transfer Program, and it is a similar program to SBIR. It's a little bit smaller than SBIR, but it's the same general focus. The only difference being that with SBIR, we're funding small businesses primarily, solely, and through the Sttr program, you're funding small businesses to work with universities. So that's the only difference between those two programs. But in Noaa, we don't actually have an Sttr program. We're just an SBIR agency. And you can see the big dogs, Department of Defense, HHS, primarily NIH, are the big money suppliers, granting agencies in the federal government. We're down there in near the bottom in Department of Commerce. Noaa, our program is about $10 million. And there's also NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also in Department of Commerce, which is one of the participants as well. And if you look over on the right, you see the kind of the distribution by different agencies. The blue indicates agencies that offer SBIR money through the contract mechanism. And the greens are those that offer them through the granting mechanism, funding mechanism. So there are two different types and focuses for those different agencies. We happen to be in the green area. We used, up until last year, we were over on the blue side and offered contracts, but then we switched over to grants last year solely. So in order to be eligible to get funding from the SBIR program, you have to be a company, a for-profit company, U.S. owned and operated, and under 500 employees. The work must be done in the U.S., and the PI must be employed full-time by the company. And the focus in SBIR is on performing cutting-edge research and development. That's what the focus is. And it's not on purchasing equipment or commercializing technology that's already been developed. That this program is really to develop the stuff from early stages, risky stuff. So let me kind of switch gears to focus a little bit on Noaa's SBIR program and how we run the program here in the next few slides. Obviously, we want to seek innovative products and services, and those products and services must relate to our mission. So they don't have to be products or services that Noaa necessarily will buy at the end of the project. It's very possible Noaa would be one of the customers once this technology is developed, but not necessarily. And you should have plans to market this more broadly than Noaa, because Noaa won't necessarily purchase these products and services when your project is over. So commercial potential is required. So here's just a sample of some of the companies that we've funded over the last year or two. Some of these companies have been successful and produced, phase 2 products that that have been commercially successful. So, and that is obviously our goal. So what do we fund? What type of topics does Noaa fund? Well, Noaa funds topics at a high level that meet our mission. So it's all of those things in those first sets of slides that I talked about. Each year we have a competition for phase one at once a year, and each year we may change the focus area, the research topics from year to year. This past year, 2019, we had topic areas as shown here. You can read those yourself. And we did fund projects in all of these areas. And for this particular cycle of SBIR, we did get, last year we got 75 proposals, and we ended up funding 21 of them. So that's not bad success rate. That's at the phase one level, and I'll explain the differences between the phase one and phase two here shortly. So, we are in the process of defining what our next set of research topics will be. We plan to release a request for proposal in October. So we're right now starting to develop what our research topics will be for this next RFP. What's listed here are 4 overarching science and technology focus areas for Noaa over the coming 5 years or so. And if you go to that link down there at the bottom, you can get strategic plans in each of these 4 areas. So it is likely that our next RFP will be focused on these 4 areas: the unmanned systems, artificial intelligence, which is obviously a big growing area in the whole entire science area over the last 5 years, cloud computing, and then the omics, which is revolutionary methods used to analyze materials such as DNA, RNA, or proteins. And I'm not an expert in this part of it, but it is an area that Noaa will be focusing on over the coming several years. So I mentioned there's various phases to the SBIR program. So a company that comes in and wants funding will submit a proposal to at the phase one level. These are relatively small projects, only 6 months typically in length and $150,000 max. So they're pretty small. The point of phase one is sort of your proof of concept phase or concept development. So we give you funding to develop your idea and maybe come up with a concept that seems commercially viable. Because then what happens is once you get awarded your phase one award, then and that finishes 6 months later, then you'll go into another competitive phase, phase two, where only the phase one companies who were previously awarded an award will then compete for phase two funding. And typically the success rate in going from phase one to phase two is on the order of 2/3 of the phase one companies get a phase two award. And those are typically 2 years long, $500,000. And that's really where you get into the R&D, the prototype development, really the preparation of your technology for hopefully commercial success. And so the phase three, after 2 years, your project moves into phase three, but in that case, there's no SBIR funding that goes with that. You're sort of at that point, you're reaching out to potential customers and, finding people that will invest in your new technology. Now you see there in the phase two, it says commercialization assistance. We do provide funding to help you be successful in phase three. And I've got a slide on that here coming up shortly. So you can see down there at the bottom, there's, the solicitation to award process. You find the phase one solicitation, you submit a proposal, we evaluate it through a peer review process, and then we award the phase one awards. And then when that's done, then we move into the lower level there, the phase 2 solicitation, et cetera, same concept. So this kind of summarizes what we do. I mentioned earlier about grants versus contracts. So we are now solely a granting organization as opposed to a contracting organization. And we made that switch last year. Our next RFP will be released for phase 1 October 15th. The proposals will be due January 8th of next year. And the RFP is available on grants.gov, the federal government website that has all the federal government's solicitations for grant funding. So we will post that RFP out there. So the typical phase 1 awards, we typically each year award 20 to 30 new ones, 150K each, as I mentioned. Phase 2s are typically in the 15 to 20 range at 500K each. And our total program funding for SBIR in Noaa is about $10 million. Okay, so here it kind of shows the dates of our upcoming, if you're interested in applying for grant funding through this program. And this is sort of the timetable. I mentioned that we're starting now through August, the research topic development, and then the release of the funding opportunity on grants.gov October 15th, proposals due January 8th. And between October 15th and January 8th, we will have a pre-selection process in there where you submit basically a short two-page proposal, and then we do some down selecting there such that the proposals due on January 8th are only those that we've determined, have real potential. And then we do the evaluation in January through March and make the awards in May, and a project start date the 1st of June 2021. Okay, I mentioned about the Commercialization Assistance Program. This is available to all the phase 2 awardees, and this is to foster success of these companies in phase 3 and beyond. Once the phase 2 funding ends, the companies, you're on your own to get out there and hopefully market this technology. And so we provide you assistance in the phase 2 to do that. We have a third-party contractor that we work with that customizes training and mentoring for all of the phase 2 awardees. Provides assistance in development of your marketing strategy, your commercialization strategy, and then it also provides networking and industry connection opportunities for all these companies. So that's the all I have to say in this presentation. I don't see anything over the chat. So if anyone has questions, please, I'm open to questions. So there's my contact information.